Floor.
Oh, okay.
Senator.
Hello everybody, David Shavzin with the Value Track. We're going to talk today a little bit about what I do. We'll start, as we always do, with just a slide or two on the personal side of things. So the next slide, I'll let you read that one. I'm always amazed that that happened. If you go to the next slide, there they are on the left, a little bit more grown up. My dad in the middle there, just a couple of years ago. He was probably like, what, 70 years ago? And then my mom, who's going to be 95 in a couple of months with myself and my siblings. Lots going on. So a little bit about me, quickly, not spending too much time. Initial career banking, finance, mergers and acquisitions, and then more operational roles. So it really gave me a broad swath of experience at very large organizations and some smaller organizations within the larger organizations. The last 20 years, exit strategy, helping business owners sell their businesses. Very often we'll talk about are not ready, and so that really ends up being an exercise of helping them over some amount of time to get ready to sell. A year ago, we created the Atlanta chapter of the Exit Planning Exchange, and really with the mission of changing how we do exit planning, not just in Atlanta, Georgia, but in the Southeast. Bringing together a team of advisors, as we'll talk about, to help shepherd companies through the process. The next slide, it's just that. It's a journey. We want to keep them on track. Track. There you go. Very good. Yeah, I'm getting critiques here from John, which is great. I'm waiting for the full assessment afterwards. But yeah, that's it. Go to the next slide, if you would. And headline is this. It's helping business owners sell. When we talk to them about value, the vast majority of the time they are extraordinarily disappointed because they have not focused on value. It's nowhere near what they want. And so most of the time we end up spending time working with them to get it to where they want to be, to where they can retire or whatever they're going to do in the next phase of their life. And it's really all about creating their future, but also for their kids and family. And we end up talking a lot about legacy, whether it's a family business or not. So the next slide just covers the 7-step process that we've distilled down over the last 20 years from talking to many businesses. We won't go into this detail on all these steps. We'll touch on some of it. I want to get into some just very specific and real case studies. I'm going to pass around, though, just a one sheet on the 7 steps. And of course, we're happy to pass it around to you guys or send it out electronically as well. If you go to the next slide, this is reality out there. You've heard me say this. Some of you have seen this graphic. When we talk about value the first time we go and we do that exercise, that is absolutely the look that we get, and it's very common. And you see the stats up there, and these are real. People just aren't focused on value, thinking about value. They're very busy in their businesses, running businesses, and it's often very successful. But most of them are counting on that for retirement, and there's an obvious disconnect. And again, I emphasize it starts with the key is understanding value. If business owners immediately today understood what the businesses were worth, for better, for worse, they'd make different decisions going forward and start to solve these issues that we're talking about. On the next slide, just 2 key concepts that are really kind of critical. Look at them and really think about it. We all typically do, ourselves even, right? Run our business, we're in it 24/7, and we're thinking about a business owner running, like a business owner running it. When you're thinking about selling at some point, you need to get in the head of the seller, because nobody cares what you think about your business, frankly. That's the bottom line. It's a tough truth. Somebody from the outside is going to look at it in a much more stark perspective. Right? They're looking at the numbers and the cash flow and what they can do with it. And you've put 20, 30 years in, and that's wonderful. You've got a great business, you've got a lot of emotion, families in it, you've got friends and vendors, and all of that. But at the end of the day, the investor from the outside is looking at it very differently. So if you want to maximize that sale, you have to start to look at it that way. We talk about running into a lot of business owners who are ready. They're ready to sell, right? And the companies just aren't. Now, a lot of those people, especially the boomers, and we hear this literally, it's, oh, I'm tired. Oh, we're tired. And it's true, right? Heck, I'm tired. So that's great. But when we start, again, looking at the business and the value, it's not ready. So we've got to get the owner and the business in sync is the bottom line, let alone business partners. If you go to the next slide, just want to make one quick point, and that is starting out, someone who's just opened their doors, right? thinking about value in the process and building foundation for that future is going to be way ahead of this guy, right? They both need to be starting to think about value and exit, and that's the point of that. So the next slide is starting into just a few case studies and just giving you an idea by industry and size and kind of thing that we're doing. I can read the top few lines there, but in this case, it was one of the odd ones, right? Not what I said a moment ago, but we came in and price was just about right, and so it was, let's go to market, and that's what's going on. That's the one out of a gazillion, right? So the next one, great company, young company, just a few years in, started working around just building general business foundation, and had the opportunity to coach the owner around the longer term and value and what they wanted out of this at the end of time, when ready to sell, whatever the goal would be for that owner. And we did that, just focused on a lot of the foundational things. Just 3 years into the business, already talking with investors out in 4 states now. But the bottom line is, again, early on doing things the right way with a focus on value, focus on what that means at every moment and every decision of the day is what it is. Next one, so this one is not an outside sale, but it's a company where owner and second generation are both in the business and working on a transition from one to the other. This is a longer term, taking the time to both build the business and grow, coach second generation up, and a very calm process that's in a few years in and a few years to go, but in the middle of making that transition and structural change to make the exit for the parent successful and a successful business for the long term for the child in that business. Next slide. Great business, and I'll just go right to the bottom line for a moment. Their goal is to triple the value, probably looking at a few years. In their case, I think is really doable, but the key, again, is they're open to it. They know the value's not where they want it to be. They know that they need some outside help, right? They just can't pull it all together. Nobody can. So it's a great client. They're into it. They're interested. They're motivated. Next one is, looking at it myself here, again, tired, right? And so that was what was the first statement pretty much to us. The good thing, again, they had done a little bit of their own research, kind of just looking out there, and understood that, okay, they weren't ready, and in their case, they're willing to put the time in, despite being tired, to take a couple or 3 years again. And looking at, also in this case, tripling value, which is, again, I think very possible when you start to look and prioritize what they can be doing over the next 24, 36 months. The next one is a really interesting way to deal with these things, and that is a merger of 2 firms, the 2 owners, 25 years difference in the age, and so they're going to come together, work together for several years, right? Build value along the way, so the owner's getting out and paid out at a much higher level, and again, the younger ones got this business for the next couple of decades already built in exit strategy for the owner. Let's see, if you go to the next slide, thank you. So, what's common through it all? And it is really very common. It's if they're open, listening, looking for help, driven, we bring the right advisory team around them. So all these examples we talked about, I'll pause and say, I'm not doing all the work in all these cases for everything that we're doing for them. There's a whole lot of people, some around this table, who are part of that process over the life cycle to get to the point of selling the business, and they get it. Finally, my ask of all of you is folks like this. So owners, in some of these industry categories, they may be single owners, they may be partners, they may be family businesses. We do a lot of that work, and some of that can be a little bit chaotic, but we love it. And referral sources, the professionals, financial advisors, attorneys, those kinds of folks. And then finally, the referrals to speaking to all these categories, associations that you're part of, the Rotaries, or just even some of the professional services firms with their clients. it's a great way away from the office to get them in a room and make them listen a little bit, right? To, going back to the first few slides, think about value, think about what they're doing, get a dose of reality in front of them, make their exit a success.
Sorry.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.